Greeting YouTube and welcome to my next weapons build. Today we're going to work on a couple of maces. I'm making this as a pair and I'm probably going to be calling this the Moon and Star set. So what we have here is a piece of 1 1/4 by 1/4 inch stock. That's going to be the shafts for both of them. I have this, which is a piece of salvage, so it cost me nothing. I'll be attaching this with these, and I'm going to have to turn down those heads slightly because they don't quite fit inside there. This is made for machine screws. I don't really have any machine screws kicking around at the moment, so I'm just going to use these. So I'll turn them down a little bit so that they'll fit in there, and then I'll have it'll be completely hidden. You won't see those at all, as opposed to riding on the surface, which is what they do at the moment. And the star one is going to be made from this. And this is a piece of cast iron. This is a decorative star, but it is cast iron. And I picked this up at a little antique shop going out of business. I paid $4 for it. I actually have 2 of them, but 2 of them on one mace would just be absurdly heavy. Even as this thing is not light. It's not going to be easy. Now I originally thought, maybe I should just do that. And that's kind of cool. It gives you kind of a thrusting point. It's a couple of 2 points like that, but I find it a little on the boring side. It almost looks like a wand. So I've decided to do this instead. So what I'm going to do is set it up like this, and I'm going to take out that notch right there. So when I get this thing situated where I want it, I'll take that out so that it's not in my way. And I will put a similar point on the other side to match it. I'm going to drill a big hole there for this bolt, which is actually a bolt, simply because at the time I purchased it, they oddly didn't have any threaded rod the size I needed. So they did have a big ass bolt the size I needed, and that's long enough for my needs. So I got a couple of nuts there to work on this, and the rest will, maybe I can salvage this enough and still make it into a bolt. I'm not sure. I'll figure out how long I want it to be, because I'm probably going to put points on both of the ends of that just for fun. And the difficult thing is going to be holding this in place. Now, here's the problem. There's no really convenient way to pin this. Now, I guess I could put a pin there, but that'd be really ugly. Because even if I could get a screw in there, it's just not going to be attractive, and I don't want that. So, what I thought I would do is come up with a separate block, and just some scrap steel I've kicking around, roughly the same width as this. I don't know if I'll have any of the exact size, but it doesn't really matter. I probably have some 1 inch if nothing else. And make a notch in the end which will slip onto here like that. And that will keep it from rotating. And then I'll put in a similar point on the other end just for aesthetics, so it'll match. And I'll probably have to drill 2 holes, because if I put a single hole on that block, there's the chance that when you use it, it could kick it and knock it off. So if I have 2 there, that will reduce the movement completely. And what I'm going to do is drill this hole first, locate the hole, drill that hole, and then install this in position, and then I'll push this up against that shaft, because there is a little bit of play in there. Push that up against there, and then figure out where I want the holes from mounting. So I can build this thing, I can build the block and everything without a problem, but when it comes to actually assembly, I want this to be as tight as I can get it against that shaft, and then the block that's going to be holding it in place as tight up against there as possible. So the whole thing should be hopefully locked together and keep it from rotating. Because there is a flat on here, so that's what I'll be riding the little block on, that flat, because it's not chamfered all the way to the edge, which is convenient for my particular needs. I think it might be part of the aesthetic as well. Now, some people don't realize that these stars are now available as decoratives. People just find them very attractive. But, well, I agree. I like star shapes myself. But originally, these were used as anchors for building ties. Literally, there was a time when brick buildings of above a certain height would be pulled together with threaded rods. And on the outside of the building, you'd have to have a plate to hold that rod. It would pass through the center, and you have a big nut on the outside, and then that would be actually used to keep the building stabilized. And because they were on the outside, they were made attractive. So that's where these originally came from. They were of better quality cast iron, and they would be much larger depending on the needs. But that's where the Americana of these came from. They were originally part of construction to hold a brick building together. Because above a certain level, a height level, brick buildings are not as stable as you'd like them to be, particularly if you're trying to have walls that are not 4 feet thick. If you're trying to build walls that are only 2 or 3 bricks thick, you're going to need probably 2. You're going to want to have something to help stabilize them, and this is how that was done. These were the plates on the outside of the building that would be used to pull those threaded rods and help hold those walls in place. They probably didn't know that, but that's where these came from originally. And I've always been fascinated with them. I own a couple of actual antique ones for that reason, because I find them fascinating, a little bit of history. But this is not an antique one. This is just reproduction. So I don't mind turning it into a weapon. No, I do not. Alrighty. So let's start working on the shafts. I just cut that in half. This is 36 inch. I need 2 18-inch pieces, so I'll knock that off. And then we'll start laying out where I want that hole. Once I get that hole set up, then I can figure out, you know, this will be the final location, so I can mark that off to get taken care of. Then I can start working on the block, and then 2 holes. So there's going to be 3 holes, notch here, a point on the other end, and this particular project will be done. This one is going to have 2 holes for that, 1 hole at the other end probably for a lanyard, and I will grind the top and bottom to meet that radius, because I just will find that aesthetically attractive. Alrighty, so let's start cutting. And this one is complete in no time at all. I've got the hole in the radius, got 2 holes in the radius. I cut off the bolts so that they would be the correct size, and we're done. All we gotta do is wrap the grip, which I will hold off till I'm done with the other one, so I can wrap them both at the same time. Because I have to vacuum the floor before I do that. Because when I'm wrapping it, the cord tends to fall into the floor, and I don't want to get crap in it while I'm doing that. So this one's done, and it's got a nice balance to it. I mean, I know you're thinking, oh, that's not a whole lot of weight there. I weighed this, it's 236 grams, and it's moving at a high rate of speed at an 18-inch length of steel. Yeah, that's going to hit like a truck when it lands, okay? Take my word for it. Alrighty, so now I'm going to start the layout on the second one so that I can figure out holes and notches and all that stuff, so that I can then start working on the placement and that block that will then lock everything in place. Or at least we're hoping to lock everything in place. All the components have been gathered. I decided not to put a point on this. It's going to be enough as it is. I don't want to gild the lily. And these part 2 holes here are not perfectly in line with the shaft, and I'm okay with that, because I was not going to remake this thing a second time. It's enough I had to make it once. It's a fairly number of accurate cuts on that, and this works best with one specific point, so I'll make sure that one's fitting in there. This is all set. This is set. I got my fasteners. These are a smidge long, but I can always cut those off once I get it assembled, so I know exactly the length I need. Oh, look at that. I got a hole in my glove. I guess it's time for a new pair of gloves. But once I get that done, then it's time to wrap the handle, and then the job is complete. And put a lanyard on here. It's easier to hang these things if I have a lanyard. So, gonna do a final assembly. Going to do the wraps, and then you'll see the final product on both of these in the next segment. And this is the final product. We've had 2 finished maces, matching wraps. I'm not 100% sure where I got this paracord. I think it might have been in an estate sale or something. But I had enough to make these 2 wraps, the lanyards, and I have enough for 1 more lanyard left. So that's not too bad. So everything is assembled, and while these may not be perfectly centered, they are absolutely tight. I had to use a screwdriver to actually screw this through this hole and that hole to get everything to come together, and then I put nuts on the back side, and I did grind them flat so that the lengths match the nuts. And this one looks good too. Did the same thing on that one, cut those off. Obviously this is a much simpler build, but sometimes you like simplicity. Straightforward. This is a good cleric's mace. Remember the old clerics? You couldn't use blunt. You couldn't use only use blunt weapons. Well, perfect for a cleric. Now, technically, this is still a mace and would still be considered a blunt weapon. I guarantee you hit somebody with that, they're going to bleed. But you know, it is what it is. Okay, time to go outside, take some shots for stills for both this video and for my DeviantArt page. Speaking of DeviantArt, you should follow me on DeviantArt because that's where I permanently house the still images of my builds. You should also follow me on Instagram because I post salvage clips and pictures, yard sale finds, finished weapon builds, all kinds of stuff, including cute cat pictures. And who doesn't love a cute cat picture? Alright folks, thank you for being here for this build, and I hope that you will be here for the next one.